Okay kids, so today is bread day and I'm going to make an old-fashioned soda type bread, and I want to show you what kind of ingredients I've gotten out ready for us to cook. Okay, so we have a cup of oats, I have a cup of the white and hard wheat berries with also 3 tablespoons of gluten. We have some almond flour, some white bread flour unbleached, 1 egg whipped up. There's a little bit of buckwheat flour. We have some flax seed flour. In this one particular bowl over here, we have like salt and sugar and baking powder, baking soda, and some thyme. And I think that I have everything here, and my buttermilk. So we're going to start mixing everything up together and see what we can come up with. So in our bowl, I put in all the dry ingredients, and I'm just basically stirring them around with a whisk to get everything all incorporated so that the oats and all the different flours and the salt and baking powder and seasonings and things are all incorporated well. And then we'll add our liquid ingredients before we start rolling everything out and getting it ready for our pan. I've got the oven preheating to 400. I went and got a large cast iron lidded type casserole that this is going to bake in the oven, and it should be pretty delicious, hopefully, if everything goes right. It's been a while since I've made this because I've been working, and now that I am retired, having a little more time to cook and to show my family a little bit more about the things that we've enjoyed eating in our home and healthier ways of making things. I think you'll find this recipe pretty easy, and it's pretty tasty too. Okay, now that we have all of our dry ingredients incorporated, it's time to add the eggs and the buttermilk, and I'm going to show you what we do. So I've made a little hole here in the middle of all this wonderful stuff, and I'm going to pour in the egg and the buttermilk here. Got some stubborn pieces of egg there. That's okay. So I'm pouring in the egg. And we're going to pour in the buttermilk. This is our homemade buttermilk that we made. And I'm just going to pour in a little bit at a time here. Start to mix. And this stuff is not going to look like your normal bread dough. It's not quite pancake dough, but it's not quite the consistency that you would think of for a yeast bread as well. It's going to be a little mushy like that. That's okay. That's what it's supposed to be. Add a little more of our buttermilk there. Homemade buttermilk. It's not as thick either as the stuff that you get in the store, but it still should work just fine. Get all that stuff incorporated in there. Pour a little bit more of the buttermilk in there. Okay. See, it's kind of what I'm going to call sticky, shaggy, loose, whatever. But the thing is, though, as we start around, it's going to start getting a little thicker here. And I don't know if I'm going to put much more buttermilk in there or not. I think maybe just a smidgen more. So I'll make sure we got everything incorporated, and then we're going to lay this out, knead it a little bit, and get it ready for our pan. The most important thing is to get all that flour and oatmeal and all the different grains and things that you have all mixed up in there together. Now this, for sure, will get sticky all over your fingers, but that's okay. It'll still taste good in the end. Okay, so the dough is out on our breadboard, and it's floured, and we're going to start taking and sprinkling a little bit on here. It's kind of tacky, but what we're going to do is gently knead it until it starts to form into a bowl, into a ball. I'll get my words straight here in a minute. Well, you know, there it is. You see that? It's kind of soft. See it squishing through my fingers like Play-Doh, but that's okay. That's what it's supposed to be. Now, we're going to transfer this over to our big pan that we've got ready. Stand by. Okay, so I got my pan over here. It's like a big Dutch oven and has a lid. We take this and put it down inside the middle here. Now this is supposed to have parchment paper on it, but again, I haven't went to the grocery store, so I don't have parchment paper. But we're gonna put it in here anyway because I have it really well greased. And then we take a knife and we just score the top of it. This just makes it look pretty when it comes out of the oven. The oven's preheated to 400, and I'm getting ready to put this in here. We have a little bit of oats left over from our mix. Put this on top, kind of just smush it in there a little tiny bit just to make it look pretty when it comes out. And it's ready for the oven. We're gonna stick it in the oven for a while and see what happens. Okay, so about 20 minutes have passed at 400. The bread's been in the oven. It smells pretty good. Now's the time we get into the oven and take the lid off. And we're gonna try to do that here. I'm gonna flip this around, take a look at it so we can watch this together. Okay. Ooh, check that out. It's risen, which is great. It's about double in size. Put it back in the oven. And we've reduced the temperature down to about 200 or so. And then we're gonna let it cook for about another 15 minutes. Look back and see how it happens in a bit. Well, I did it again. If you watched one of the other videos here a while back, you had no ending. That's because when I grabbed the phone to record, I hit the wrong button. So this is part 2, basically the end, but I wanted to show you the bread. Stand by. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. It's doubled up in size. If you can hear that, it kind of has a thumpy sound to it. It calls for having the inside being about 200 degrees, so we're just going to slide that in there. Take a look and see if we can have the thermometer go and do what it's supposed to do and see if it thinks it's done enough or not, or if we need to pop it back in the oven for a few more minutes. It's getting pretty close. The beeping you hear, that's the timer on the oven. I did not turn it off yet. About 185. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the oven down to about 300 and pop it back in for about another 10 minutes. I'm going to spray the top of it down too with some cooking spray so it doesn't get too hard. And we'll see how that looks like in about 10 minutes. Okay, I took it out after about another 10 minutes at 350. I got the temperature up to 190, which is plenty good. The cooking spray I put on the top softened it a little bit so it's not so hard. I went to get things prepped to take it out of the oven and realized I do not have a baking rack, so I had to kind of do another kitchen hack, and this is what I came up with. Okay, this is it. 2 wooden spatulas and a rack out of the air fryer. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out of here, set it up on the rack, let it cool. Looks pretty, it smells good. And we'll have to come back after quite a while to see what happens with that when we cut it open. I have found out that this is better toasted versus like just cutting it raw for a sandwich. So this turns out much better with the crisp that you get from the toaster because it's a more dense bread versus something that's light and fluffy. So I hope you like it. I hope you try it. And it'll be a good thing for you to have like for a breakfast or something like that to have with whatever other breakfast items that you have. But it makes great toast. David and I have always liked to have it. So thank you much. Hope you enjoy.